This is Comic Picks by the Glick.
Hey, I'm your host, Jason Glick.
Hi, Jason Glick. What's going on?
Hey, John. Glad to hear from you. It's like, and hey, you're not the only one here. It's like, how's it going, Myron?
I'm doing good. How you guys doing tonight?
Oh, not too bad. What do you got on tap for us? And why do we have Myron in the room?
Okay, well, this is like one of those. This is like a really weird coincidence because the whole subject of this podcast springs directly from the time we went. The three of us went to WonderCon about a month ago, actually.
Yeah, and that was like a really great time. I enjoyed myself.
Yep, baby Comic Con. Love it all the time.
Comic-Con without the bullshit, really.
Exactly.
Yep. Shout out to the woman who cosplayed as Samus Aran.
Oh yeah, she's been getting a lot of press lately, as I showed both of you.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like, but one of the things that actually happened. I mean, we all bought lots of different comics, but we all wound up with copies of Detective Comics 1000. I mean, I was there. I picked up a copy of the kind of figured, hey, it's here, and what the hell? And John, I imagine you were kind of thinking the same thing as well. John?
Yep, the mute button was stuck. Hey, so yeah, no, absolutely. In fact, I even bought an extra variant cover, which I bought one to read and one to collect.
Yeah, and Myron, as I understand it, you just bought more copies of Detective Comics 1000.
I did, because Detective Comics launched that week, and so I bought. What drew me to it, of course, is one of my favorite artists of all time, Jim Lee. So, knowing that Detective Comics 1000 was going to be a great milestone issue, I bought, my favorite Jim Lee comics, the standard cover, and the the expanded cover where it had all the characters, including Robin, on that, and I bought the Bruce Timm cover. So my initial trip to the comic book store cost me $30, but going to WonderCon, I was hoping to find more variants and more covers that would appeal to my artistic taste. And of course, I ended up spending maybe an additional $20 there. But then, after WonderCon, hitting up eBay and buying additional covers that I was not able to get there. So I spent approximately $120 on Detective Comics 1000.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as long as you're happy. I just bought the Steranko cover because, hey, it was there. It's like I figured, well, this one looks nice.
Yeah, I mean, this comic book was a wonderful celebration of Batman. I mean, the hype being at WonderCon to be able to sit in on the DC panel and just hear about not only the future projects that they have coming about, but what fans liked, what fans wanted, and they actually celebrated Batman's birthday after that panel we left, and just to hear how well Batman and how well celebrated Batman is, not only to the comic book industry, but as a pop culture icon, you couldn't help but be whirlwinded into the hype of getting as many Batman comics as you could, getting as many Detective Comics 1000 covers as you could. It's been a great month for Batman in March.
Yeah, it's like I just want to point out that just that as regular readers and listeners of the podcast and the blog will know, it's like just the fact that I actually went out and bought this single issue. Well, that should probably tell you enough right there. It's like I was swept up in the hype. It's like, and because I gotta admit they assembled a really good selection of writers and artists for this issue, and I guess just to start things off, I want to say that I don't think there were any bad stories in this issue. I mean, there were ones that were just kind of like, but overall, it's for an anthology series about Batman, the hit to miss ratio was a lot higher than I was expecting for this kind of project.
Yeah, and I agree with you there. Touching back on how this book is a wonderful celebration of Batman, we see many different storylines in this book that kind of touch to many different aspects of Batman / Bruce Wayne. We see darker stories, we see detective stories, we see lighthearted comedy stories as we go along, we'll be discussing them. But one of my favorites was The Legend of Newt Brody. So it was a really great way to kind of showcase what Batman is all about. Even if you've never read a Batman comic book before or know who Batman was, if you were living under a rock for like the past, 80 years, like this is a good book to start with to get a full encompassing view of what Batman is about.
True. It's like, and like, well, the essential goal, like, one of the things I mentioned that prior to the release of this issue was that most of the stories were like outside of continuity. Well, except for the last one, which we'll get back to in a bit. It's like, it's like a lot of these, like, it's like you could actually like read most of these stories and believe that they were of like a part of the Batman mythos, either like stuff that had happened or stuff that was eventually going to be. Now it's like we'll get back to New Brody as well because I am particular. It's like about these things. I want to start from the beginning.
Of course.
Yeah. So we're going to start with like the first one, Batman's Longest Case, which comes to us from Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, who both gave us the legendary run on the new 52 incarnation of Batman, which is it's the definitive Batman run for the ages, like at a time when you thought that such things were of the past, and it's basically all about Batman, just like finding working a case from his very first one, and then finding that he's apparent that he may be the world's greatest detective, but he is not the only world's greatest detective, as he goes through all sorts of particular things. It's like going through like minutiae over the world. I mean, it's very Scott Snyder-ish to talk about stuff like it's like ancient glass. It's like malware that makes computers run faster. It's like Egyptian hieroglyphics. It's like altered crystalline structures, just really minutiae stuff that ties into something bigger. And yeah, I mean, I like this story, even though it kind of feels like, well, this is like I said, it was mentioned these stories are meant to be out of continuity, but this really feels like something that Snyder is going to come back to at a certain point, most likely for his Justice League run. But it's just fun to see Batman following a mystery to its end, and then finding that, hey, it's only the beginning.
Yeah.
So
the conclusions of that one were they're pretty interesting. So yeah, and I would say maybe not the strongest one, but yeah, if there's more follow up or if there's other threads that have been set in motion by that, I'm all for them. So.
And see what I got from this story though too is that it really showcases how smart Batman is and how great of a detective he is and how detailed he is. I mean, he starts off, with the Looking Glass in Rome, which brings him to Japan, which takes him to a hack server malware that led to Egypt and so on and so forth. And at the end of this long investigation, it leads him all the way back to Gotham to initiate him into the Guild of Detection. So like you see like characters in there like Martian Manhunter, Hawkgirl, Hawkman, Detective Chimp.
Hell yeah.
It's like it might not have been like a strong story, but it's strong to me. It was strong in the sense of like it shows just how intuitive Batman is and how he could like basically you can't hide from him. Like eventually he's gonna find your ass. He's gonna find and solve the crime. And what really got me, which really saddened me about the storyline, is like when he read that book, and I want to know what is inside that book.
Yeah, it's like you're talking about that bit at the end where he just like looks at it and goes, "Wow,
wow!"
Because it's a very un-Batman thing for him to just like open his eyes wide in surprise and go, "Wow."
Because
like,
typically nothing takes him by surprise.
Yeah, Batman doesn't get surprised. Batman doesn't show awe at the unknown, and yeah, but here he does, and it's kind of like, and I just thought it was a nice twist, just show that hey, that Batman, like for all that he knows, doesn't know everything, and it was and I like that bit, and this is it's the kind of thing you can get away when you're doing short stories.
Yes.
Like in comics, you can set up something like really set up something like this, and then just cut away at a like for to follow up on a later point, like which I don't know when this will be followed up on, but I am very certain that it will be because Snyder isn't a guy to just do something like this and just let it go.
Yeah, and this is and this story definitely underscores the detective in him.
Yes.
So
yeah, I think it's a good start to the anthology. Get things off on the right foot.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in fact, I think getting things off on a better foot for you, Myron. Like, the next story features art from your guy, Jim Lee.
Yeah. So that one was it was very short, and it was actually one of my favorite stories, the Gotham gift shop, and before it even led up to the title of the story and who the writer and the artist were, like looking right off the bat, I'm like, oh man, this looks like Jim Lee's work, and sure enough, it was. But the story was written by me and John's boy Kevin Smith, and I thought this was one of the most powerful stories in this anthology on how Bruce obtained the gun that shot his parents. The item that destroyed his heart was redefined to protect his heart, and I was like, damn. Like,
now, didn't it start out with you like see that his that Batman's chest has been shot in that area, though?
Yeah,
it's a recurring theme for all the villain shots in the comic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And quite frankly, like when it was building up to that, and you see the guy Malone in the shop like buying, I didn't know who that was at first. At first, I thought maybe it was Alfred in disguise buying it for him because of his kind of narrow facial structure. Mm-hmm. But when it opens up, is this the Gotham gift shop? He's like, nah, this ain't it. This is the Gotham gift shop, and he opens it up, and you see nothing but memorabilia and items from Batman's previous villains, like Mad Hatter and Joker, and it was just very interesting to see the shop owner kind of explain I got this item, this was used during a battle with Mr. Freeze, this was used during his fight with Penguin, so on and so forth.
The fact that there's even a market for such items.
Exactly.
Well, this is Gotham.
Yeah,
so
exactly right.
Yeah.
And of
I will
course,
just say that I'm ashamed to realize that neither of you knew that Matches Malone was Bruce Wayne's Gotham Underworld identity. It's so ashamed.
See, you normally have me on these podcasts for Spider-Man stuff because I'm a diehard Spider-Man fan, and I've always been more of a Marvel guy, but I do love and appreciate DC, and when it comes to DC, Batman is kind of like the Spider-Man for me in the DC universe. So even though I don't read as much Batman material as I do Spider-Man material, I do have quite a bit of Batman books, and I need to expand my knowledge on the lore of Batman's storied history.
Yeah. So I want to reiterate that I'm so ashamed only as far as the fact that we can laugh about it.
Oh, of course, because I mean, you got to understand, Bruce is a man of many disguises. Batman and Bruce Wayne, are his alter egos. But, you go back and I'm pretty sure it's like this in the comic books, but you go back and watch Batman, the animated series. I mean, you'd see Bruce kind of hang out in the slums or hang out as some type of hood thug to try to get as much intel as possible. And that goes back to him being a great detective.
By the way, I could see this story being in the back of Kevin Smith's mind for years.
Yeah, of course.
To me, I'm you know what? This is probably just something he just pulled out, and he's like, I got this one idea, and now it's in print,
And I had to go back and read this story several times because I thought it was deep, and I think John, you brought it up. At first I didn't take notice to it, but then after I read it so many times, I took notice how in most of his fight sequences, you see how he's getting slashed in the chest, slashed in the heart, and you see slashes, shots to his bat logo, and that's where he ends up making the breastplate behind his behind his heart. And I think that's powerful that the item that took away his heart ends up protecting it. And this was a really short, heartfelt story, and I thought that was really dope.
I thought it was interesting because I think that there's a dialogue sequence in there with Alfred, because Batman collects things that are
the giant dinosaur,
right?
Penny.
The penny, right? Exactly. He collects these things. Yeah, and I think Alfred questions him on this.
Yeah, Alfred says like, dude, this is just too grim for you, Batman. And yeah, it's like, and yeah, you get like it's easy to get that, but then when you find out just like what he's doing with it, it makes perfect sense. Though the crazy thing is, like I'd have to go and research this, but it may have actually been Frank Miller in The Dark Knight Returns that actually established the idea that Batman's got some sort of bulletproofing underneath that yellow bat logo.
Okay.
Yeah, because I remember like when he gets shot there, like he falls off the tightrope, and then it's revealed that there's bulletproofing there. It's like, hey, you ever wonder why I wear like this yellow bat symbol, this yellow bat symbol on my chest? So,
I thought it was for style.
It's one of those things where it's like the creator looks at this and goes, this is honestly kind of dumb, but I think it comes up with a good reason why it's done. It's like, and it's like I think Smith comes with another good extension behind the reason of where that bulletproofing comes from, and I liked it too.
Agreed.
It's like, yeah, and I like the story that follows, which is the aforementioned story about Newt Brody. Yeah. And it's like, so John, I know we're all big fans of like Batman the Animated Series, but this comes from its key writer, Paul Dini. So
yeah, I did notice that. I was like, hey, cool. Here's his throw in. Although it was interesting because I was looking at it, I was like, it's Paul Dini, and although I think in some of the older scenes you did see the older version of Harley Quinn, not the more updated look.
Yeah, I think that's the case. Yeah, it's like it's like in the modern day, it's like talking about who is Newt Brody. You see modern day Harley Quinn, but in the flashback scenes of like showing you when he participated in the actual crimes, you see old school Harley Quinn.
Exactly.
Yeah, but this is a nice high concept. I mean, did you want me to explain it, or did you want to go into it, John?
No, you go on ahead.
Okay, because basically, like, Newt Brody is basically the worst henchman in Gotham City history.
Yeah, he's just standing there.
Yeah, he fell asleep. He fell like asleep. The Dormouse in Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the Riddler goes, on second thought, I should have killed him. Yeah, I mean, you realize that there's going to be like this huge like sub market for like for henchmen in Gotham City because of all the major criminals that operate out of it, and then it shouldn't surprise anyone that there is one that is like the worst one out of all of them, and we hear from like Harley Quinn about how Newt Brody like screwed up this story, this job where she and Joker were trying to rig an election for a corrupt politician, and then it's like he worked as the Dormouse for a Mad Hatter gig, and then also like gave away the code to Batman for one of Riddler's things. It's fun, ridiculous. I mean, you realize that it makes perfect sense that there should be a character like Newt Brody in the like in the Gotham underworld, and then you get to the final page and you realize, there's a good reason why Newt Brody exists.
Mm-hmm. And it was a clever prank from the Bat family.
Spoilers! Jeez, man.
Oh, edit that out.
Yeah, it's a fun story that basically like, it would have worked great as an episode of Batman the Animated Series. Like, am I wrong?
No, it is a fun, lighthearted story, and especially like the imagery too. It kind of does, and the coloring of like the settings, like it really does kind of harken back to Batman the animated series. Like when you see like Poison Ivy kind of recount her stories, and you kind of see like the greenish tones behind her. Recount of her panels. When you get to the Riddler's recount of the story, like there's like very purplish tones to his panels. Like it really did harken back to the animated series as far as like style and feel and look. And then of course like just the capers that they were trying to like accomplish during this time really harken back to that as well.
Yeah, and I really like the art from Justin Nguyen, like, and it's proof that he does better work when he's like doing full pencils as opposed to painted work here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was part of my comment on the Harley Quinn design. It was like, and I looked at it, I was like, yeah, that's very very kind of clean, although not as clean as like what you would expect from the animation. So yeah, but very good and works well. I did like the way he drew Harley Quinn in both ways. The updated design and the older design. So
indeed, this is definitely one of the high points for this, for the anthology. Yeah. Okay, and then we got something from a writer who longtime readers will know that I am totally in the tank for. That is Warren Ellis. I'm working with Becky Cloonan, who, believe it or not, is like still the only woman to have actually worked on an issue of the Batman series proper. Crazy, right? But the Batman's design for me kind of like feeds into like Ellis has worked with Batman briefly in the past, doing a black and white story with Jim Lee for Gotham Knights, and doing a story in his Planetary series where the characters from that series encounter all the different versions of Batman from popular culture over the years. But Ellis's version of Batman is basically a compassionate psychopath.
Mm-hmm.
And this story really goes into that, because it's basically about a group of enhanced thugs who wind up like retreating into this one like shoreline warehouse, and it turns out that because Batman prepares for everything, he's actually rigged this warehouse for them as well, and it's all about just Batman just orchestrating like ways to efficiently take down these characters in brutal yet effective ways. In fact, if you remember the bit from The Dark Knight Returns where Batman thinks of a thug gets a drop on him, and he thinks of there are 8 ways to take this to take out the man from this perspective. 3 of them disable with minimum contact, 4 of them kill, and 1 of them whack hurts. Well, we're dealing with the Batman who hurts right here, right up until the final encounter where it's like we see some of that compassion where Batman just like basically goes like hey, I am the person who haunts Gotham. Do you want to be like me? And we're just left to one, and we find out just where this guy like falls on that spectrum. But I think for me it's like it works because I'm familiar with Ellis's take on Batman, but also because Cloonan's art is really emotive and striking. It's like, but Myron, it's like what did you think of this, really?
Excuse me. Like, I really, it took me a while to kind of get used to her style, because when I look at, she's really great, and when I look at Batman, a lot of times I think one of the things I get picky on is how he looks in his, his cowl. Like the bat ears have to be like a certain length in a certain position.
Oh, we'll come back to that later for Kelly Jones' story. Please go on.
Yeah, and it's like when I see Batman being drawn, I have like a certain pickiness on how I feel he should look. And I think that was, for me, kind of established during the Tim Burton movie era, and I've always liked that design. So when I see people draw Batman, like I really love Jim Lee's take. I love Greg Capullo's take on it, and it took me a while to. Like I said, it took me a while to get accustomed, but Becky Cloonan, I really love her. I really love her look and the colors in this this particular storyline because it's taking place in a warehouse and it's so dark. Just seeing like when the explosions start happening, that's when I get a visual sense of violence and and we know Batman's credo. He doesn't believe in killing because the moment he kills he becomes like them, and I think there was one villain in particular where he mentioned that he killed children with his bare hands, where in most people's cases they would probably kill that person like, you're a piece of shit, you don't belong on this earth, yet Batman still
Batman hits this guy with a taser in the back of his neck, and that doesn't take him down. Batman just like grabs his gun and just strikes
jabs him in the throat.
Yeah,
and it's like it's a violent way to take him down, but he's not dead. So I really thought that this storyline was pretty powerful because he takes all these villains down through traps instead of having to take the low road by killing them. And then the last villain, who he mentions is like a visionary, yet a visionary criminal, yet he's like mentally unstable. He talks him out of it and gives him a choice. Like you mentioned, like I am, I'm already dead. Do you want to become like me? Is that what you want for yourself? And he gives him a choice to make him change his life. And I thought this was actually like a great story, and visually striking from, I know you say you have an affinity for Warren Ellis's work. I'm not too familiar with his Batman work. I've heard of it, but I really thought this was an interesting story.
Okay, it's like, yeah, I'm glad you liked it. I mean, it's like I can spot, reading so much Ellis, it's like I can spot a lot of his tics here. So it's like I'm glad to hear that it worked for you. It's like, being not as familiar with him as I am. So, but then we got the next story, which it's like, I gotta admit, it's like if I was gonna pick a story that I think was gonna be like the worst story for this anthology, this would be it, really. And like, apologies to Denny O'Neil, who is deceased and responsible for some all-time great Batman stories, including the creation of Ra's al Ghul. But it's got some fantastic art from Steve Epting, who who does a good job of making stuff seem like very realistic, but not like stilted photorealistic, like he's tracing stuff. It's like, but it's basically a story about how Batman has a conversation with Leslie Tompkins. It's like about how she feels that Batman's that you've gone the wrong way in becoming Batman in order to deal with your parents' death. But there are some thugs that are going to come to attack us because that's so convenient. And it's like, and then like it's I really, Batman deals with them, but then like she kind of responds to his efforts, with sanctimony. I mean, it's a story that feels like the deck is kind of like set just to make Batman seem wrong, which honestly didn't work for me.
I kind of agree with that too. Like, I'm more familiar with Leslie from Batman the Animated Series. She's a doctor and worked closely with Thomas Wayne, and she does know of Bruce's secret.
In fact, she does she sounds like Bruce, no, which is kind of like you figure like, no, don't do that, really.
Yeah. I think that was one of the problems with this story I had too. It's like, dude, you have like 4 thugs and you're screaming his real name like out in front of them. Like, hopefully they're not that intelligent to know, oh, is that Bruce Wayne? They think it's Bruce Banner, but
or like Bruce Campbell. Like, man, I love that guy from The Evil Dead.
Hopefully they get their universes crossed and don't realize it's Bruce Wayne. But these kids needed to get their ass beat. Like, I don't understand why she took so much sympathy like after he beat their ass, and she's like, oh, poor thing. Like, nah, dude, these cats like robbed a store and we're trying to hold you up. Like, let them get their ass beat.
Yeah, I can understand. It's like, like where he's coming from on the story. It's like, just something like he's trying to try to just question why Batman is necessary. But but it's also done in a way that basically just doesn't work. Really. I mean, I really like the art from Epting, but other than that, I mean, the story itself was just kind of like too much sanctimony for it to really work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, but then next time we've also got a instead of a legendary bat. In fact, it's worth mentioning that Denny O'Neil worked with Neil Adams to create some really classic Batman stories in the 70s, but they're not working together here. It's like because Neil Adams illustrates the next story, which is Heretic by Christopher Priest, who while he's best known for his runs on Black Panther and Deathstroke currently. He's also the guy who came up with the Bruce Wayne Goes to Tibet to learn from the League of Assassins stuff, which if you'll remember, hey, we saw this in Batman Begins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're getting here as Bruce Wayne is drawn into this the murder of this Asian kid who had a card from the Thomas and Martha Wayne Foundation. It's it's eventually revealed that no, it's not that Ra's al Ghul didn't have a role in this, but it's actually a retaliation killing from the League of Assassins itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I can appreciate how I guess the word for Adam's art is overwrought. How the characters are just dramatically posing and emotive in how they're posed, such as how when Batman tries to question Ra's al Ghul, he does this by just grabbing the Batmobile into Ra's limousine and then jumping right over the car to start questioning him, and then seeing how he's seeing how them going back and forth as they yell at each other. It's kind of overwrought that I like, but the story just kind of feels like they wanted Priest to, well, either the editors wanted Priest to revisit his most notable Batman story, or Priest just wanted to expound on it himself, and it was all right. I mean,
yeah, I thought so too. I mean, I did Neil Adams' artwork in this storyline, and I love the classic blue and gray coloring for Batman. This story to me though wasn't too memorable. I
mean, I don't think it was bad. I mean, it's I liked the bit at the end where Batman tries to find another way to resolve things rather than just hey, I'm gonna beat everyone up. It's no, he's got his own way to do this, and it's the League of Assassins has their own plans as well. I mean, no one is essentially wrong in this, but it doesn't make for most interesting drama or conflict in this story, really.
Right.
Yeah, but so I guess we're just kind of it's okay, and I guess the fact that it wasn't bad is kind of a win for any anthology, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it was like I said, at least for me personally, I did, appreciate the artwork, and after sitting in on Andy Kubert's panel, at WarnerCon and listening to him and Emma talk about, storytelling, visual storytelling. I mean, you need to be able to, as an artist, you need to be able to convey a story through imagery, and if you were to take out all the lettering and all the bubbles and just look at the images and the paneling themselves, I mean, I really did like the way this was laid out and conveyed the story visually, and it really brought and his art style really brought me back to more of a 80s, early 80s, late 70s style Batman, and I really loved the coloring and kind of his facial expressions. Batman, he's not too grim as in Frank Miller, but grim enough to where oh, this cat's gonna beat your ass, dude, if you.
It's the over. Like I said, it's enjoyably overwrought as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, exactly. So it was cool, but like I said, it wasn't one of the most memorable stories um, in this anthology compared to the next one we're about to discuss.
Oh yeah. So in fact, we were talking about Bendis earlier, but this is the story from by Michael Bendis and Alex Maleev, and Bendis can usually be counted on to do great work with Maleev. I mean, from his run on Daredevil to Scarlet was good, even though I've got real issues with how its serialization went. But but this is a story of the Penguin, coming up to an old Penguin, coming to an old, like, seemingly comatose Bruce Wayne to tell him that after all these years, I knew you were Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the story of how he knew he was Batman and why he never did anything because of it. And, it's like, I will admit, he's actually got some good reasons here. It's like, like, Bendis does a good job of capturing, like, Penguin's, superior, superior self-serving, dialogue. It's like, and just saying, like, hey, it's like, because the Penguin has always been one of the few Batman. And say, Myron, we can hear you vaping from here.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, just wanted to let you know, but the Penguin has always been one of the few Batman villains where when he gets busted, he doesn't go to Arkham, he goes to big boy prison, real prison, and it's like, so to hear him just rationalize everything here, it's really interesting. It's like, and it makes a lot of sense. It's like that he would want to do just that at the very end, when neither of them has really have any capacity to do what they were best known for the Penguin to just go, hey Bruce, I knew everything about you and I didn't do anything, so screw you. And then Bruce's response,
well, he said, I win.
Spoilers. Yeah, but the thing is with that is, it's like with what Bruce says, it's kind of like, I liked the story when I read it, but I couldn't quite articulate it when I did. But then after I thought about it, I realized, okay, this story kind of gets to what I really love about Batman. Just the fact that, you've got the story where the villain is setting up this big story, this big plot to trap Batman, and then it's like when he does it, it's like he finds out that, oh no, because Batman was building a bigger box around me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like, it's something that that the Joker said during Grant Morrison's run. It's like that always stuck with me, because the Joker said he was always frustrated because, hey, whenever I think I'm building a box around Batman, I find out, oh no, he's building a bigger box around me. And that's what this story gets at the very end. And I think it's perfect for a nice short story because, it's like, this is kind of what you'd expect from Batman. It's like, he's always got a plan. He's always one step ahead of his adversaries. And I just love that. It's like, and that's what really gets me about this this short 8-pager. It's like Bendis's output has been really uneven towards the end of his tenure at Marvel, but this is something that kind of gives me hope to read when I get around to reading his Marvel, his DC Superman stuff in paperback. So I really like this story. It's like, out of all it's clearly out of continuity, but it's also one that, at the same time uses that out of continuity status to tell something tell a larger, a story that's that encapsulates a larger truth about Batman, for me at least.
When this was one of my favorite stories in this book too. And when I first, before you find out the title, who the writer and the artist are, you look at this panel and you just see like you can automatically recognize the Penguin just by his elongated nose and his shapely head, and it was kind of weird to pronounce what he was saying. I was like wah, 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 like the way it was written. However, when he approaches this old man in the wheelchair, quite honestly, like I didn't know that was Bruce Wayne at first. I mean, you would kind of suspect so just because he has, as an older man, he kind of has that archetypal kind of facial structure for like a heroic figure, like strong chin, like really straight, sharp lines in his face. So I did assume like, okay, this has got to be Bruce Wayne. And Penguin introduces himself, Oswald Cobblepot. And, I'm Oswald Cobblepot, and I want you to know that I found out who Batman was years ago. So obviously, the kind of like smug look on his face when he said that, okay, I was like, okay, this has got to be Bruce Wayne. And once you kind of get into the storyline, and as he's telling like how this all built up, how like Joker gathered, all the villains in Gotham to kind of form some type of like, team or league or whatever.
Well, he basically says that, like it's one of those occasions where like, the Joker or someone else tries to form like a league or something. Like this is like all the guys in Gotham are trying to unionize against Batman at some point, but it never quite works out for whatever reason.
Right. And it's like, I love how he kind of recounts to that and how like he came to his conclusion on who Bruce Wayne was. But if you really look skin deep, Batman and Penguin, Bruce Wayne and Oswald Cobblepot are businessmen, and and businessmen are always going to try to outdo their competition. So that's why, like, as he's recounting this story and telling this story, he's like, yeah, I've always known, but I didn't do anything with it. I had a chance to do it. I had a chance to destroy you. I had a chance to do, this, but I chose not to because he felt that he had a one-up card on his competition. But as you read through the story, you end up not only finding out who's the smarter man, but who's the better businessman, so to speak.
Yeah, that he said, like that the Penguin couldn't trump Bruce Wayne in terms of when it comes to crime, but he wanted to like outfox him as the better businessman.
Yeah, and so this was like a really enjoyable story because after you see, Oswald's like, I knew it, and now you're the only reason the only reason you're still alive is because I'm smarter than you and I win. And after you see the results of that, you're like, oh, you can't outfox this guy, man. He's
the goddamn Batman.
Yeah, he's the one-upper, dude. Like it's always that's one thing about Batman and the villains he faces. Like they're always trying to one up each other in their smarts. Like Bruce has like traveled the world, and he studied a lot of like he studied a lot, martial arts, science, chemistry, everything to make him well-rounded enough to face multiple foes. And when he faces our particular foe, he already knows like, okay, they have this type of personality. He knows them psychologically, and he knows them intimately based off of their fights. So it's like Penguin is just another facet of the education he's got, not only through being Batman, but through his travels and being Bruce Wayne. So even as old ass men, it's like you're never gonna get one up on me, dude.
Yeah, and I think that Maleev does like really strong art as far as like capturing the facial expressions of these characters, especially the Penguin. How he just captures like these mood shifts from like someone who's like just like really vindictive against him, but also just realizes that, oh well, if I do kill Batman, well, what's going to happen if I do?
And I agree with you there with Maleev's artwork, just because I have a bias affinity for Tim Burton's Batman. I mean, some people might disagree, what's the greatest Batman movie ever, but I love Batman and Batman Returns. And I feel like the way the Penguin is drawn in this short story, it really harkens back to Danny DeVito. Like I see Danny DeVito. There are a
couple panels in here that make you go like that. Maleev was just going like, oh, like I just saw Batman Returns and I want to put that in.
Exactly. Exactly, especially like the little penguins with the remote control helmets and rocket backpacks.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, but I mean, some of his facial expressions too. I see Danny DeVito in his artwork, and even as an old man too. So I agree with you there. Like his facial detail is really, really on par and just really expressive. And so, like again, that goes to like telling a story through through paneling and telling narrative story art. Like, if you were to just take away the lettering in this story, you can kind of read this in your mind how this story went down, and it's very expressive and very very artistic. I love it a lot.
Yeah, I think you got a good point about just how that it's possible that you probably just look at this. You could probably just take away the lettering, the dialogue balloons for this story, and you could probably still get a good idea of what was going on here.
Yes, and just to get off on a tangent, quite frankly, that's what I got most out of that panel we went to with the Q*berts, is like how important that really is. I mean, storytelling is equally as important to the artwork. Like the artist and the writer working together, they got to be able to tell the story together. And if you have a bomb writer who is able to tell a fantastic story, but an artist who's not able to convey that, it really brings down the content of the book. Or if you have a bomb artist that is filling in for a story that's not as strong, then of course it brings down the value of that book. And I mean, I have several comic books that I bought straight off of the artwork alone, but then the story just like it's whack.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I get what you mean. We should probably move on to the next story.
Of course.
But I guess this next story also comes from an artist who I've really appreciated in the years past, and you mentioned about how you like want Batman to be drawn in a certain way, like with his horns for a certain length and whatnot.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. This artist who illustrates the next story, Kelly Jones, he was known for drawing 12-inch Batman horns in his run on Detective Comics back in the day with Doug Mensch. Or wait, was it Detective Comics? No, it was regular Batman. It's like, and it's like I kind of miss seeing when I see a Kelly Jones story, he's known for drawing exaggerated spooky characters, and I remember in his Batman stuff was great in that regard. It's like, but and and to be honest, we didn't get the crazy 12-inch Batman horns in this story, so. This is the rare story where I was kind of disappointed because of the art. Because I am normally a whore just for writers, period. And this is written by Jeff Johns. And Johns is one of DC's A-list writers. I mean, you don't call this guy up to handle part of your movie development stuff unless you're really good as a writer. But Johns has done lots of great stories for DC over the years, and see him here for this Batman story. It's the last crime in Gotham. It's I can see what he's going for here. I kind of like it, but I guess I just think it was all right because it's basically a story about just what is the last crime Batman has to face before there is no crime left in Gotham, and there's a lot of future assumption as far as who is going to be Batman's last foe, and it's going to be the Joker, but not really, as we see here. But in the end, though, it's we're left with the story is basically one that resolves with no crime left in Gotham. But even then, that's kind of more wish fulfillment, literal wish fulfillment. It's as we find out in the first and last pages. So, but it's. I kind of want to like this a lot, just because of the idea. I want to like the idea of Batman encountering a Gotham that is without crime. That he's finally finished his mission, and now he can just relax with his family.
Justice has been completely served now.
Yes, yeah. I want that. Yeah, I want. I want to like the idea of the story. Even though it's I kind of realize that, yeah, it's kind of wish fulfillment. But I guess if you can't give Batman wish fulfillment in Detective Comics 1000, then when can you give it to him, really?
Yeah, I mean, this story was okay too. I just, from what I got out of it, it really shows and tells me as a reader that it seems like Bruce does want to have a normal life. I mean, to see him fighting alongside Catwoman and their daughter Echo I'd never even heard of, and Damian Wayne really tells me like he does really want to have like, that crime in Gotham.
And Ace the Bat Hound.
Oh, yeah, and let's not forget Ace the Bat Hound. I thought that was it kind of harkened back to me of that there was a cartoon about Superman's dog. I forgot Crypto the super dog. And when I saw a dog in a Batman outfit, I was just okay, whatever.
Well, I thought in Batman Beyond that his dog was named Ace as well.
Oh, you know what? I think you're right, actually. So.
Oh, you mean the good bad dog?
The good bad dog, that big. It was like a big bloodhound, or yeah, he looked like a bloodhound.
Yeah, he's literally in the first episode. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember he says like when Terry McGinnis is like, hey, good dog. It's like, and Bruce's brain is like, no, not really.
But I think deep down, Bruce does want to have a normal life, but can he really have a normal life?
Yeah, so I mean, it's the story is wish fulfillment.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like, let's say if you can't give Batman wish fulfillment in Detective Comics 1000, then when can you give it to him?
If you want to keep making money, never.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, like, Byron, as far as like, I mean, you talked about like how you feel you envision Batman, like your platonic ideal, like as a Batman as a visual. So how did you feel about Kelly Jones's art?
No disrespect. I wasn't like that huge of a fan, and this Joker panel actually kind of gave me nightmares. I mean, I guess it's good in that sense.
The Son of the Joker panel.
Yeah, the Son of the Joker panel. Like it did kind of give me.
I consider that a plus because I mean, I like Kelly Jones. Kelly Jones is good. Is a good spooky horror artist. I mean,
yeah, and that was great, but I don't know, Catwoman. I had some weird issues with Catwoman and Robin in this story. Like I'm not knocking his artwork, and his Batman is awesome. Like he kind of had that like older, thicker, grim, kind of like kind of menacing look to him, like with the ears. Like you did bring up a good point. Like I do like Batman with the thicker, long ears. But
but it's Kelly Jones who goes like all out and just like I'm gonna give Batman 12-inch horns because he's meant to be goddamn intimidating here.
Yeah,
goddamn a horror character is like living in real life.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
We didn't get that here. So that I am. This is a rare moment of artistic disappointment that I am faced with. But it's like everyone else might not have that.
Yeah. And so I mean, to be an artist and to be able to tell a story visually, it takes a lot of skill and patience. So I don't knock anybody for their artwork and doing their thing. But however, for me, it doesn't like really, really strike me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, like, would it blow your mind for me to tell you that he actually did a Magneto miniseries from Marvel back in the mid-90s?
Oh, did he?
Yes.
I'll have to look that up myself and check it out and make my comparisons there.
Yeah. Well, it's like it's one of those things where it's kind of like I just I have my idea of like what Kelly Jones is like really, really good for certain stuff, but straight up superhero things like that Magneto series, like it's like I'm not going to check that out because I think that would just be like terrible. But that's a completely different podcast, really. It's like we're here to talk about Batman Detective Comics 1000, and here we've got the next story is The Precedent from James Tynion IV and artist Alvaro Martinez. So this is a story about Batman rationalizing how to work with Dick Grayson as Robin. The end.
Yeah, but I did kind of like the message in this storyline about like Bruce isn't the only person that has gone through the tragedy that he's gone through. I mean, Dick has faced his tragedy with the loss of his parents, and it brings up a good point in the sense of like, you know, youths going through that type of tragedy and how they react to it. Like, are you the one to go out and get revenge and shoot up everybody who did you wrong, and then shoot up everybody who would do wrong to others? Or are you the one to take up on the mantle and handle a responsible way to serve justice? And I love the way that they kind of convey a message that we will help them find a better path together. And Dick was honestly the first person that Bruce was able to take on that way, and from there we got Jason Todd, Tim Drake, you know, and so many others after that, Damien. So we got so many others after that, and I'm not talking about just Robin, but you know, just showing people that there's another way to administer justice than to sink down to the level of those that we're trying to defeat. So I, you know, as short as it is, and how it seems cliche, like, oh, Batman and Robin story, like it did have a nice little message to it.
Okay, I'm glad you liked it. The thing is, like, I've read, you know, a bunch of stories from Tinian that, you know, it's like that, you know, like basically are like, you know, fine, that basically, like, you know, follow the expected path of, you know, a Batman story, and this one is no different, really. It's just kind of like, you know, it's like you're just telling like a story I'm familiar with, that I've read before. It's like, just okay, maybe you've got a more modern handle on things, and the art from Alvaro Martinez is nice, but it's just kind of like, you're not telling me anything I know already. It's like, it's just, this is the kind of stuff that frustrated me with his Detective Comics run, because, you know, he just followed the superhero Batman specific playbook, and you know, it's like, and just told familiar stories, and within that context. Sure, there were occasional bits that, you know, struck out as being, you know, outside of the, you know, like the story, but, you know, it's like, but overall it was just like pretty familiar, pretty well expected. And, you know, it's like, I just keep coming back to like this one, the story that he did in the first volume of Justice League, where he told the story of Lex Luthor was up to, you know, in order to recruit this his current Legion of Doom. And I think that if he's gonna do, you know, it's like really familiar by the book stories, but do them for villains, do them for characters we haven't, you know, that for stories that characters that we haven't been seen done to death yet. So overall, I mean, it's like, yeah, it's like, it was fine, but, you know, it's like, when I say fine, I mean, it's like, you know, for like I've read others, like lots of other stories like this from Tinian, and I think that, you know, he can do better, and that, you know, he's just following, you know, the Bat playbook here, which just annoys me to no end, really. Yeah, but next one we got is Batman's Greatest Case, which is actually by a current Batman writer, Tom King, and this is a story, but it's features art from two artists, Tony Daniel and Joel Jones. Daniel handles the superhero sequences, while Jones handles the sequences at the it's like at the cemetery. And it's basically all about, you know, Batman, you know, figuring out, well, okay. Essentially, it's about Batman figuring out, you know, what he's going to do. You know, it's like, you know, like how he's going to move on with his life after his family's, after this with his parents, but also just, you know, what happens when he gets together with the rest of his Bat family for a specific anniversary event each year. And I would think that, you know, people who don't read a lot of comics are going to be frustrated by how this story plays out, because King has lots of dialogue boxes over the course of over the course of the issue. Well, dialogue boxes in the in the cemetery sections where you're not sure who is speaking, but then you see the actually dialogue balloons in the in the superhero sequences, when you realize, okay, this is who is speaking, and it actually makes a lot of sense that everyone is saying this, because looking at all this, like I was able to keep everything straight as far as who was saying what and what was going on here. In fact, there's lots of funny stuff here. Like there's a Batgirl complaining to Batwoman about like why am I Batgirl and why are you Batwoman? And Dick and also the apparently how Dick Grayson is apparently insufferable when he says like, hey, I used to be Batman. So yeah, it's like so I liked it, but then again, I've had lots of time to acclimate myself to Tom King's stylistic quirks and ambitions, reading his regular Batman series.
And from an art perspective, like I love Tony Daniel. Like it took me many years to get accustomed to his artwork, just because I grew up with him during the Image era when he he worked on Spawn and he's worked on Fantastic Four in Marvel for a little bit. He kind of harkened.
He did Fantastic Four.
The Heroes Reborn.
Wow, it's like I know that Jim Lee did like part of that.
Yeah, Jim Lee did like the first like 4, maybe 5 issues, and then I stopped collecting because Jim Lee stopped and Tony Daniel took over, and I was a little apprehensive. I was kind of mad because Jim Lee did such a fantastic job on that. I'm like, who the hell is Tony Daniel? And it took me.
Okay, I can understand that.
Yeah, and it's like, and then all of a sudden I see Tony Daniel like everywhere, like his name working on different projects, and he harkens back to an era that I loved in comic books when you had like your J. Scott Campbells, your Jim Lees, your Mark Silvestris, and he kind of harkens back to that. And when I see him doing modern work, I really love how he's grown as an artist, and especially like that double page where they're taking, the whole Bat family is there, and it says cheese. I really want a poster of that. Like, I really love his artwork, and I think he was, when you go back and look at his older artwork, he was dope back then, but I think he's a lot, he's come a long way. He's a lot doper now, and so,
it's like I love his, I first got into his Batman work when he started illustrating Grant Morrison's run. It's like with part of the second half of the Black Glove collection, and then Batman R.I.P. It's like, and he's gotten like really impressive since then. I mean, he's also done some impressive work on Tom King's ongoing series, like the alternate universe. He did an alternate universe story where it's like where Booster Gold tried to prevent the prevent the death of Batman's parents as a wedding present to him, and it just went horribly wrong. But it was beautiful to look at because of Daniel's work.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, I love, it's like he does good work here. And and Jones, I think, gets a little bit shortchanged here because she just basically has to do like Bruce Wayne, looking pensive in a cemetery. But yeah, you're right, that whole double page spread of Batman going cheese, like that is poster worthy, really.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's also got Ace the Bat Hound as well.
Yeah, Ace the Bat Hound.
Yeah, but hey, question, Myron. So did you find it hard, to keep track of who was saying what in all those dialogue boxes?
Yeah, honestly, quite frankly, I didn't even read this whole story because once it got to the panel where Bruce is in front of the Wayne tombstone, like it did kind of get really wordy to where like I kind of lost track, and then I just kind of skipped ahead and just to get a gist of what was going on and really look at the artwork. So I did kind of find it hard. Not that I, have a short attention span, but it did get a little wordy where I was like, okay, let me come back to this, and I just never did.
Okay, so you think that maybe it should have had, I guess to me, just like little captions to show like who was saying what. Would that have fit?
I mean, it's possible to have little captions on who was talking, but at the same time, it could have been broken down through like artwork. Like, I mean, if maybe instead of this whole panel of Bruce in front of the tombstone, on the left-hand side of the page, you could have had separate boxes on who was talking. That could have been a little bit more easy to follow visually, but yeah, I think like you mentioned before, there was just like text boxes like scattered all around Bruce Wayne, like scattered all around that image, and sometimes it's a little bit hard to follow, except for Ace where he said "Earth, Earth."
True.
So.
Yeah. Okay, but I guess like before we get into the final one, we've got like some pinups from Michael Janin, Jason Fabak, and Amanda Connor, which I think were quite nice. I mean, it's nice to see Janin contribute because he's illustrated like some of the key stories in King's current run, and I think he does a great Joker, like as well. And then you got Fabak, who I love the detail that he puts into his work here, and well, it's like this is like a really impressive double page spread as well. So
yeah, I'm fairly new to this artist, and I already love what he's done so far, and I don't think I picked up any of. I know there was a cover he did for Detective Comics 1000. I don't think I didn't pick that one up yet. I've already spent enough, but if it's still available,
here is yet.
Yeah, like once I get more money and once I have that kind of extra disposable income, there are still a few covers that I like to pick up, and he was one of those artists.
Yeah, it's like he's pretty. Fabak is pretty great. I've seen this like work. It's like working on Batman Eternal. It's like and like I think he's good. I mean, he's currently working with Jeff Johns on allegedly on a Black Label series called The Three Jokers, because the way Johns figured it, there are 3 different Jokers running around. It's like one for like representing a representative of each era, which much as I like Johns' attempt to like work lots of stuff into continuity, I don't think that his attempt to work his take on the Joker there kind of works because, I like Grant Morrison's like take on Joker as one who was like super sane, someone who like has a different wears a different set of sandy pants for each different era, and that works. Just like whenever the Joker has encountered has a new situation he needs to encounter, he just puts on a new pair of pants that represent a different sort of sanity for him. There you go. But that's kind of like off topic here, and I guess we've actually come to like the final story here, which is the introduction to the Arkham Knight. So, I don't know. It's like I don't know if I want to talk about this or if you want to talk about this, Myron, because I know you've actually read like the issues that have followed up on this. Because this is like the one story in the anthology that is basically explicitly described as like setting up future Batman stories.
Yeah. So with this storyline here, I did not read the end of Detective Comics 1000 on this introduction. I jumped straight into 1001. I couldn't wait. So, for all of you Batman fans who've played Arkham Knight for PS4, there is a specific kind of view I've had of the Arkham Knight, and I was kind of hoping for that kind of style and that setup. But what we get here is like we actually have a knight, like clad in armor with Arkham shield, like a big A shield, and he has a clan of Sun Knights. And without spoiling too much of the story, after Detective Comics 1000 and we get into 1001, we find that there are dead bats all over Bruce Wayne's Batcave, and dead bats in the zoo where, correct me here, Jason, Kirk
Langstrom.
Thank you. Not Kirk, but his wife.
I know Kirk Langstrom is Man-Bat. I don't know much about his wife, really.
So his wife, works along with him, and she actually injects herself with the serum to become, Man-Bat or one-man bat. And but it's still it's
just gonna laugh and let that speak for itself. Go on.
Yeah, it's still Man-Bat. So there's dead bodies appearing everywhere in Gotham that Detective Gordon is investigating, and then there's dead bats in Bruce's Batcave that he's investigating, which leads him to the Gotham Zoo where he talks to Mrs. Langstrom, and she is kind of going nuts and freaking out and injects herself with the man-bat serum and transforms into a bat. We come to find out that the Arkham Knight and this Night Clan, or this Night Clan of the Sun, basically is setting off an artificial sun in Gotham because they want to destroy the night, and they associate Batman with the night. So the Arkham Knight has some type of alternate view of justice that he feels that is his right way of justice over Batman. So I could see this kind of building up to an interesting storyline that kind of like distorts my perception of what I originally thought when they were going to announce that the Arkham Knight was going to be introduced. I kind of thought that they might kind of play off of the Jason Todd storyline from the Arkham Knight game, but with Jason Todd being Red Hood already, who is this Arkham Knight and who can it be? So issue 1001 came out a couple weeks ago, and issue 1002 just came out this past Wednesday. So I'm interested to see. And I think my anticipation of like, okay, who is this character? Who is he going to be? I'm really excited to see where they lead up into this, because when we're introduced to the Arkham Knight in the Arkham City or Arkham Knight game, Arkham Knight is very militant and future militaristic. Here we see a more modern knight with sword and shield. So I really like the design that they went with this character, and he just looks more like badass. And he kind of reminds me a little bit of kind of Azrael, but I have a feeling like this has got to be somebody that is tied to Batman or Bruce Wayne in some sort of way. So I can't wait to find out who this Arkham Knight is and what he has in store for Batman and for Gotham.
Okay, now it's like, correct me if I'm wrong, but like the art for these, for these issues, they're provided by Doug Monk, right?
Let me get my comic.
Yeah, because Monk provides the art for the teaser in Detective Comics 1000, and I've always liked his stuff. He's got a great eye for detail, and he's also really great when it comes to like drawing monster type stuff. It's like, and he's done lots of good stuff in the years past with John Arcudi and with Jeff Johns in his Green Lantern run. And it's like, well, I think that his stuff in Batman, in his Superman run with Peter Tomasi, who does the shortly doing like this story in Detective Comics, it's like the art he did with the work he did with Tomasi in Superman was more clean than I would have liked. I like chunky, gritty Monk. It's like better than like clean, like than clean Monk. And we get that here in the preview. It's basically a preview for the main story in Detective Comics 1001 and beyond.
So yeah, I do like Doug Monk's design of the Arkham Knight at this final page of issue 1000, but the artwork done on Detective Comics 1001 and 1002, so it seems to be continuing on, is Andrew Hennessy and Bradley Walker. And when I read it, it wasn't it wasn't bad. I did like the artwork, but I don't think it was what I expected. I think what was what I saw here illustrated from Monk, I think I expected darker, beefier, grittier. But like I said, these knights seem to. It reminded me of DuckTales, like that episode where they're in the Sun God Temple or whatever. Wait,
is that the you're talking about the premiere, like the premiere miniseries or movie?
Yeah, the first like premiere episodes, like where they're in that like Sun Temple and you see those sun coins.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that's how these knights. When I read about these knights, like that's what they reminded me of for some reason. And so like primarily you see Batman crime fighting in the daytime, and that's a little different for me. But we'll see how this builds up.
Okay, so yeah, you mentioned that they're trying to eradicate the night in Gotham.
Yeah, and I'm not, and it's a play on words. It's like not necessarily eradicating the night as in the darkness, but eradicating the dark night.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but you also told me that part of one of the plot elements here is that they have an artificial sun over Gotham.
Oh yeah. They set off a bomb, which launches an artificial sun up in Gotham. So it's almost if they're trying to create like an eternal day.
And I'm willing to suspend disbelief as that being completely ridiculous, because I've read enough superhero comics to just go, yeah, okay, it's like you want to set up a sun over Gotham to eradicate the Dark Knight in Batman. Okay, I can go with that.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll see where it goes. I mean, like I said, I'm very interested to see where this goes. And aside from the New 52 Batman by Snyder and Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, I haven't really been consistent with my Batman collecting, and I think that at least for me right now, Detective Comics 1000 was like a great way to kind of start fresh and go from 1000 and build from there. So I'm really excited to kind of continue on with some consistent storylines.
Yeah, I think there are some storylines. I'm looking at the Leslie Tompkins and Crime Alley story where I just roll my eyes at. But there were ones that I think were outright bad for this anthology, which is basically an anthology issue. And that's honestly kind of an achievement in itself, because every anthology series can basically be described as hey, there are some good ones and there are some bad ones, and it's either all right or it's all right in the end. But I think Detective Comics 1000, that hey, if you like Batman, then this is worth picking up, because it's a really pretty solid run of stories. There aren't any, none of them are really bad. There's no terrible one in there, to be honest. They're all pretty entertaining overall. I guess at this point we want to talk about it. So what So, Myron, what was your favorite story in this anthology?
That quite honestly, I think it was the one where Penguin reveals to Bruce that he's known all along he was Batman. I mean, when I first started reading for a while, it was the story we talked about by Kevin Smith and Jim Lee.
Manufactured for use.
Thank you. Yeah, where they visit the Gotham shop, because I was like, oh man, that was kind of like a really deep, circling of how something that kind of destroyed his life and made him who he is now is the one that's going to protect it. I thought that was pretty deep, but I really loved, that tale between Penguin and Bruce Wayne, just because, like I mentioned earlier, it was just, that kind of power of wits. I've always known that you were Batman and I got one up on you. And it's no, dude, I still got one up on you. So I thought that was not only a pretty hilarious storyline, but it really spoke to me about their character when I saw that. After I read it, I was like, oh man, these are just two businessmen trying to show off that they're the smarter one. And especially Penguin, who has an ego about himself. You thought you had a trump card this whole time, and you got shot down again. So,
okay, so I want to say I hate you, because then it's I have to agree that's the best story in this anthology too for me.
Yeah, I try to look at it aside from just artwork and who my favorite artist or writer is, that one kind of really stuck with me for a while. Thinking about it, I was like, man, that was actually pretty clever.
Yeah, it just kind of gets to me what I want to see in a Batman story. Just Batman being clever enough to just even as his his villains are trying to get one over on him. It's like, no, he's been one step ahead of them all this whole time. It's like that's really what I like. What I like to see. I want to see that my heroes are much smarter than their villains, and at the end of the day, that's what this story. That's what this story is about. Just the good guys putting one over on the bad guys, no matter how hard they've worked, and it feels earned as well. So
yeah,
and John, I mean, it's so what are your thoughts? You got any favorite story about from this anthology as well?
Well, I haven't finished reading them all, so it wouldn't be fair for me to cast judgment on them, or to say, "Hey, this is my favorite story so far." I guess I could say, I really don't have a favorite. I guess is the best way to put it. I generally like them all, even the ones that you guys criticize. However, I haven't, like I said, I haven't read the last few of them. So maybe next time on the podcast, I'll let you know.
Okay, if you don't, then Myron's like, we should come down and get him then, right? Which is go and beat it out of him, right?
What, to Texas?
Yeah.
Come on over.
Yeah, give me some cheap gas, dude.
Oh, there's plenty of cheap gas here.
And we'll beat the story out of you. Like, which one's your favorite, and give us some cheap gas.
But I will hold you to that, John. It's I will once we do the next podcast, I will tell you and after you're done talking about what about this one, what was your favorite story from Comics 1000, motherfucker?
Well,
God damn it, man.
Well, speaking of which, what are you going to be talking about next time?
Oh, well, let's see. It's I think things. Assuming that the secondhand deliveries from Amazon work out, I'm going to talk about some of the not terrible stories from Kazuo Koike and Ryoichi Ikegami, who are best known for putting together the only buried garbage of manga podcast I've done, just for Wounded Men. But they've actually allegedly done some good stories together, such as Crying Freeman, and another story that I hope to talk about, assuming that the Amazon deliveries come through in time for this next podcast. So, like I said, it's going to be about Crying Freeman next time, in honor of the late Kazuo Koike, and so we'll see how that goes.
All right.
And so Myron, thanks for contributing to this one, and it's as soon as I think of something else that I think that to invite you back for this, you'll be back right away, man. Thank you very much for your contributions to this, man.
I definitely appreciate you having me here, and I enjoyed talking about this because I felt that Detective Comics 1000 again was a wonderful celebration of Batman and a wonderful showcase. And as much as I kind of lean more towards the Marvel side than I did towards the DC side, being able to go to WonderCon this year and being able to kind of experience what DC has in store for their characters have kind of really opened my eyes a bit more to kind of explore outside of the box, and kind of touching base back on Detective Comics 1001, there's an advertisement in there for which I didn't know what was coming out, is Batman Turtles 3. So
with art from Kevin Eastman at one point too.
Exactly. So I'm gonna make sure I try to keep my eye out for that, because I totally missed part 2. I didn't realize that they actually made a sequel, and I missed that whole thing. So I guess I'll probably have to try to cop 2 on paper.
Part 1 was all right. It would have been better if the series had been released back in the 90s.
You know what, dude? I have my affinity for the Turtles and shit, and I'm a sucker for that.
I like the Turtles too, but it's I read the first
the
original miniseries, and it's this has been released in the 90s. It would have been great, but as it is right now, it's okay.
Yeah.
Right. Well, hey, thanks for joining us.
Definitely. Thank you guys for having me.
Thanks for coming by, and we look forward to the next time you come by. And we'll catch you next time on Comic Picks by the Glade.
All right. Laters, everyone.
Good night.